All right, so because there's so few people here, I don't mind if there's questions in the middle. It's not a problem at all. I am not an expert. I know this because the internet tells me all the time. I am not an expert. In fact, people have made videos that explained how wrong I am, which is okay. I've been doing it for 23 years, but for the first 10 years, 11 years, I did it just as a hobby. And now I've been doing it full-time for 10 years, maybe? So 13 years as a hobby, 10 years as a job. So I'm going to talk about content creation, and we'll go from there. So the first thing, the question is why should you be a content creator? So instead of saying why you should be one, I will say why you should not be one. So the next slide, why you should not be a content creator. And so I have 3 reasons why you should not be a content creator. So the first one is, all 3, so never mind. The first one is fame. Most people do not want this, but a lot of people, they do content because they want people to talk back. They post the video and they say, okay, where's the comment? Keep refreshing, 1 hour later, I'm still waiting for a comment. But to do it to be famous is a bad idea. But this one here is why a lot of people want to be content creators, right? Free stuff. I want free games. And people say this all the time. They say, the Dice Tower does reviews to get free games. That is not true. And I remember the other day I was moving boxes of games for like hours, and I said, free games, yay. Because it is work. But also, I don't think it's free anyway, because if you give me a game and I review it, and if the company sells 1 game, they already made their money back. So, but you shouldn't do it for free stuff, because if you do that, your motives, I think, is wrong. If you want free games, you don't need to do YouTube or reviewing. You can just get another job, take that money, and buy games. And then you don't even have to review them. Nowadays, a lot of people do it because of Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter people will give you a game. No problem. They're like, oh, please, please, because of Kickstarter thing. And then money. I get money from reviewing games now. But I always tell people I did it. They're like, how do you get money? I said, you have to do it for 13 years for free. And then it is easier to do. But also, if you do anything, I think, for money, eventually that's just not a good reason to do anything, in my opinion, to do anything for money. So let's now talk about these again. These are my opinions, but we have truths that are in the board game industry, in content creating. So yes, sorry, next slide. Truths that everyone should know. These are things I think are true about reviewing and things like that. So the first one is, well, first 3 probably. So it is hard. When I was a kid, I wanted to learn the piano, and you sit down and they teach you to play, and you're like, okay, probably in 2 weeks, I will be good. And after 2 weeks, you're like, Mom, I quit, right? They say that if you want to be good at something, you need to spend 10,000 hours. That is hard. It takes a long time to do it. And that ties in here with you don't always want to do it. I almost always want to play a game. Like, what should we do? Let's play a game. What do you want to do now? I'll play a game. I don't always want to review a game. Especially, what is the hardest part of a review? Does anyone know? I don't know. Playing games is fun. Yeah, the rules. Explaining the rules. Every time I'm like, oh. Every time before I review, I read the rule book many times. I'll set it up and do it. And then even then you put up the video and people go, you got a rule wrong. But so every week when I do my reviews, I do all my rules in a row. I'm like, okay, rules, rules, rules. And I'm always like, oh, that is my least favorite part. I want to hire somebody who their only job is to do the rules. But the reason I don't is because I am terrible at many things. But I am good at telling you the rules of the game in a very short time. So that's why I do it, because I like to do it in a short time. But some days I'm like, oh, I don't want to do a review. But you know what? I do it anyway. Because if you say, I'll do it tomorrow, then you do it. It's the same as exercising and dieting, which you can see I'm an expert at. But it's the same way, right? You diet, you're like, today I will eat healthy. Tomorrow you're like, it's ice cream day. I must, And so you have to keep pushing, and it is the same thing, because you do it and everyone will say, your review was amazing. You're like, yes, thank you. I'll do another one. But then you'll skip 1 week, and it's easy to let it go away. You look at many channels, so many channels, they fade away. And you won't be very good. Everyone thinks they are amazing. I know this because of the show. Well, it's different everywhere, but the American Idol, or do they have a similar thing here? Yeah. And it's always funny because people get up there and they sing and you go, And they say, everyone loves my singing. And we're like, I think people lie to you all the time. But it is the same with when I'm doing reviews. You might think you'll be very good at it, but you're probably not. You have to practice. You have to get good at it. Some people are naturals at speaking. For me, it is easier to speak than some people, right? I don't have a problem. But I have to think about other things. I talk too fast. I know this. Well, you don't have to nod. But I talk too fast. I mumble. I say words wrong. Sometimes I put papers that it says, say the name of the game. Because I would go, this game is good, and this game, and people go, what game? I used to do that on our podcast. Because if you were listening to a podcast and they say, oh, I loved it, this was good, I loved it. I'm like, what is it? So I am constantly learning. I want to make things better. Your camera and your audio, everyone will be like, oh, it's so terrible. The lighting is terrible. People will say that about this video, and I'm in a library room here with a phone, but people will still say, it's not very good. But you can get better, but you have to practice. It is just like the piano. And every kid with an instrument, you're like, I will do better. So, all right, let's see the next three on the slide here. Yes, sir. Sorry. All right. Everybody will criticize. Not really, but you will feel that way. Now, I cannot get too upset about that. If I'm like, this game is bad, and someone says, your review was bad, I'm like, how can you criticize me? They're like, well, you just criticized the game. But it's really funny because if you see 10 comments on a video, it says, wonderful, great, amazing. And the last one says, I hated it. When I go to bed at night, I will think, why did they hate it? Everyone hates my stuff. But they don't. But people also criticize on the internet. It is easy to criticize. People, I walk in, I wear my hat, right? And people come up to me and they say, I like your hat. Your hat's wonderful. I had never had someone come up to me and say, I hate your hat. It is ugly. But on the internet, over 100 times. Because people are just rude on the internet. Now, not me, I hope. And my children, I teach them, but people are rude. And this stops a lot of people. They will work for hours and make a video, and then someone says, that's an ugly dress. And you're like, why do I even try? I don't have to do this. I can do something else. And it will feel like no one is watching or listening. I say, this happens all the time. Even, the Dice Tower is a bigger channel, and I'll say, this video is great. We spent so long making this video. This is funny. People are going to laugh. I post it. It gets 1,000. I know 1,000 is a lot for so many people, but for me, 1,000, I'm like, I will never make that video again. Even now, I have another YouTube channel where I just do a minute of peace. It is my own personal channel, so every day I post 1 minute of just nature or something with music. That's all. And some days it's 3 views. Some days it is 10. I'm like, oh, 10. But I don't care because I am not doing it for views. I am doing it for me. But when you first start, you're like, I will be the best at this. I put money in cameras and everything. And then you do it, and it feels like nobody watches. And also, board gaming is not huge. You know what is huge? Video games. I meet people, maybe they are like, I am the 100th biggest video game reviewer, and their channel is 20 times bigger than mine. I went to a video game convention one time, and the line to meet the influencers was so long, and people were crying. No one ever cries when they meet me. They had 2 lines, 1 line for people and 1 line for people with gifts. I was like, what is this? But we forget sometimes, like, movie stars, video games, sports, board games. But that's not bad. It's still great, but we have to remember not everyone does it. I am maybe the biggest board game reviewer in the world, maybe, right? I don't know. Maybe shut up, sit down, but it doesn't matter. But at my church, people do not know who I am. Like, what do you do? I say, I do board games. Oh, that's fun. Monopoly? Yes, Monopoly. But they don't know who I am. I walk down the street, people don't come by and say hi to me, and that's actually, I think, a good thing. So, all right, I got 3 more. All right. You matter more than equipment. So this, I think, is really important. Whenever people say, I want to do reviews, they say, what should I buy? I'm like, nothing. Just do reviews first. You might hate it, but if you spent all your money on a camera and sound and a new computer, and then you hate it, you wasted all that money. But you are more important, because I know this because there are many channels that are more technological than mine. I look at some channels, I'm like, wow, their camera work, their stuff, but why do people watch us? Because we make it about people. We get excited about games, and that is more important than speaking well and talking carefully. You want people to, your friend, when they tell you a game is good, they do not pull out a book and go, this game is good because the indubitable way, no one talks like that. Your friend just says, it's amazing. And you believe them. So I feel like that is important in YouTube. People need to believe me. That when I say a game is great, you know I really feel that way. Because the next video I go, I don't care. So that the comparison is there. And consistency is king. I say this all the time. You need to be consistent about a lot of things. Like, I like bird games. The next day, bird games are boring. But I also mean, you need to put out videos or podcasts or reviews consistently. Now, you decide what consistent means. Once a month, once a week, once a day. For me, 4 times every day. It is a lot, but you need to do it. So right now we are moving the dice tower. So I'm like, we need to put up content somehow, But once it's up every day, I'm like, we need to do things each day because people like that. I like that. I hate when there is a show I like and I look, they haven't done anything for 2 months. Now, you should take breaks, but you can also record ahead of time and things. But a consistent thing, that will get people to watch you more than anything else. The people who say every week, we do this, every month. Consistency is king. And then our goals matter. I remember when I first started, I am not the first board game YouTuber. I am maybe the 3rd. But the first one, Scott Nicholson, has anyone ever seen his stuff? No. But he was the first one. He said to me, what is your mission statement? I said, I like games. But now I have goals. I like to think, what is my goal? Even if my goal is, I had fun making a video. But my goals now are, I want to see us do these videos. I want this video to reach maybe this many views. If it doesn't, maybe I will change something. But I like to make different goals. And our goals matter. What is your goal? Because if your goal is money, you will be disappointed. Has anyone here ever got money from YouTube? It's very tiny. Like, people watch your video 10,000 times. Here's $1. I'm like, what? How? I don't understand it. But there's not a lot of money. So if I wanted to make money, probably I could find something else to do. If my goal is for everyone to like me, that might not happen either. So what my goals, for me, my goals now is, I have different goals. One of my goals is money, but differently. My goal is I need to make money to support my employees and my family. I always tell people we cannot eat board games. You know, like, oh, you got board games. I don't care. But that is one goal. But my other goal is I want to tell people about board gaming. I think it's fun. I want to show people great games. That is my goal. All right, now I have a bunch of, go to the next slide. I don't remember what it is here. Oh, so to start, what should you do? So these are my tips and things I think about making things. So the first one is play games. This seems stupid, but play games. And play games all the time. What I do, I play games a lot. Play games all the time. Play them with lots of people and play games for fun. If I am spending all my time making video content and not playing games, why am I doing it? I don't want to get so caught up in doing it. I have seen some content creators and they're like, I don't have time to play games. I'm like, wow, why? See, their goal is something different than mine. My goal is still because it's fun. And I think we need to play games. So this conference is modeled a little bit on the Gamma Trade Organization, the Game and Manufacturers Association, and there's publishers and designers. And I remember the first time I went there, I was like, all right. So we went and we had meetings, and then at night I said, all right, games. And everybody said, nah. I was like, what? And some publisher said, I publish so much, I don't really have time to play games. I thought, oh, that's sad to me. And it's even, a publisher can do that, I guess, it's fine. But for a content creator, you should want to learn and discover new things. I think it's really important to be constantly playing games. It also gives you a reference. If you play one game, everyone has played. What is the game that got everyone into the hobby? Like their first game, you said, this game is amazing. Azul? Munchkin? King of Tokyo? Which one? Catan, yeah. Well, a lot of people is Catan, a lot of people. But a lot of times, who said Munchkin? Is Munchkin still your favorite? Right. So that's fine. Munchkin has sold so many copies. But if your first game you go, this is amazing, 10. Everyone does that, right? But the more you play helps you out because I can say, I played this game, but this game there's already 4 games that are better than this one. So why should you get this one? The more games you play, that is why I think we do better at the Dice Tower because we have played so many games. When you show it to me and I go, this is new, people go, wow, it is new. Because they know we've played so many games that we know that something is different out there. So you say this is the easiest one here, right? Play games. But you will find sometimes it gets harder, especially if you have children. But you can still play games. Everyone says, how do you have so much time? The secret is everyone has the same amount of time. It's just that lots of people like to, if you want to know how much time you spend on the internet, you can put like these programs on that says like, how long are you on Facebook? They're terrible because you're like, oh no. You know, so we spend too much time doing nothing, but playing games should be important. All right, next is do it for fun. And this is, if you don't enjoy it, people can tell. I once saw a content creator for something say, I don't really like this stuff that much, but I'm talking about it. I thought, I have to like it. I like when I go to a store, and whatever the store is, and the person there likes what they do. Sometimes that does not happen. In America, we have electronic stores. It used to be Radio Shack. Radio Shack is gone. And then Best Buy. But you go to an electronic store, and I say, okay, I need this wire. And the person goes, oh, all right, let me look. They don't love their job. That's okay. I don't really care. But I love when I say, oh, here's a piece of music. And the person goes, oh, I love that music. And they like to talk about it. We should love it. If you don't love content creation, stop. You are not helping anybody. You know, and I think sometimes we see this. A lot of times people are negative, like every game is negative. I mentioned American Idol earlier. In America, we had American Idol, and one of the judges became very famous, Simon Cowell, because he always was like, oh, terrible, terrible, terrible. And then he said good, and everyone was like, oh, he finally said good. But you shouldn't be that way. I say games are bad when they're bad, but I should like most games. If I don't like most games, I am in the wrong hobby. But I don't like games. I love it. And I feel if you don't love gaming, you should not be a content creator. Just do something else. Why are you doing it? Because then I can tell you kind of do it because you have to. No, we should do it because we love it. Because there are lots of jobs you can do. I don't love all my jobs that I've had. Like, okay, I will do my job. But this one you do not have to do, so do it for fun. And people can tell if you don't enjoy a game. And it makes it easier. It's easy to do things you like. Then it does not become a job. So do it for fun. All right, next one. It's also work. But that's the thing. It is not just la, 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 la. You know, every time I have hired somebody for the Dice Tower, usually they come in, they're like, "Ooh, we play games all day." Oh, no. We don't play games all day. We do a lot of work. And the bigger the Dice Tower has gotten, the more work I do. I go to work on Monday at 7 a.m., and I work till 5, and then at home on the weekends I work. I work probably 10 hours every day. I like doing it, but it's work. So I put don't quit. Unless you hate it, then quit. But if you love it, but you are tired, I say just keep trying. It is the same with children. Don't quit. You're like, I give up. Do whatever you want. No, we must, to work with children and with pets and with anything, learning to play, learning to drive, whatever, we have to work at it, so you have to work at it. But like I said, if it's always work, stop doing it. Because you don't have to. No one is making you talk about games. And there are a few people on the internet, I never read anything they say about board games because they just seem like they don't love board games anymore. Now, the opposite is true sometimes, where people love everything. And that is a problem too. But board gaming is work. Like I said, the rules section is work. But also, sometimes, so some of the worst things that can happen is I record the review, the overview, I do it, I spend maybe 2 hours, I'm like, okay, done. I get the phone, we download it, there's no sound. Then I want to just smash something, right? You're like, I have to do it all over again. Our top 10s that we do, our top 10 lists, we do them live now. One of the reasons we do them live is we used to record them, and we record it, and there was no sound. And I was like, well, you cannot do the same thing. Like Z would say something, I'm like, I laugh. The second time he's like, say, and I'm like, ha, 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 ha. It's just not the same thing. But so that gets frustrating. Or sometimes you're editing and it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. And you have to, when you upload a video to YouTube, there's so many steps and this and that and a website. There's just work. And nowadays I have taxes and a payroll and accounting and 1 million emails, and some parts of it are work, but even though it is work, I still love it. If I stop loving it, I will get a different job, for real. All right, next slide. Be unique. So someone asked me this earlier. how to be unique. You could be, no one has done this yet. Clowns reviewing board games. Okay, that's something no one has done. But how are you different? So I remember when I first started board gaming reviews, I said, okay, I'm going to do a review. I want to be different. I have an idea. I'm going to stand in front of my shelf of games. Nobody else had done that before, so I did it. Now everybody stood in front of a shelf of games. They're like, all right, I will move and now stand in front of a wall, and everyone does that. I'm like, all right, but, so some things I do are unique. I used to do the component drop. I would pour all the pieces of the game out. Nobody did that because it's stupid. It was so much work. I spent so long cleaning. One day I was like, we cannot keep doing this. But it was unique, right? And I have things that are unique. People know, like I had the hammer of judgment. Or we say seal of approval, seal of excellence. We find things to be unique. We do things that are different, and don't copy everybody else, because why should I watch you if you are the same as everybody else? And then this is the thing, I say, do what you would want to watch. What do I want to watch? That is what I make. I don't care what you want to watch. I'll make what I want to watch. Now, sometimes I do things and nobody likes it. I'm like, okay. But I still make the stuff I want to watch. I remember on the podcast, I did a board game podcast, 700 episodes. And in episode 2 or 3, I said, I have an idea. We will do comedy. We will have some people, and we will pretend to play a board game with famous people like Genghis Khan, and people said, please never do that again. It was not funny. And I listened to it and I said, it was not funny. I am not good at comedy in that way. My comedy is, I just tell people stupid things about me, and people laugh at that. But I realized I want to just make what I'm going to watch. What do I want to watch? I want to watch short reviews, not 30 minutes. I want to watch a short review. I want people to tell me, was the components good? So I talk about that. People are like, why do you talk about that? Because that's what I want to watch. I want to, top 10 lists. I love top 10 lists. So that's what I make. So that's important. And then establish a brand. So why do I wear a hat? It's my brand. But I was already wearing hats. I liked wearing hats. When I was a kid, I wanted a fedora, but I was too poor. I just had baseball caps. And I said, someday I will get a fedora. So I got one, but now it is my brand, and also sometimes a tie or my guabayera. But I also have other things that are my brand. Like, we do things the same way. I used to say shut the door all the time. I try to do something that it's mine, that people know that it is mine. And I like that. Like, my brand, I have the dice people, right? The dice guys. That's my brand. I like that. Because when you see one of those dice people, you know it is Dice Tower. And then also, though, be authentic. I hope that when you meet me, I am similar to what you see on the video. Because it's easy, and you get off. And if you have ever read on the internet, people say, I met this actor, and they were terrible. They were mean and rude, and you're like, but they were so nice in the movie. It's a movie. But you need to be authentic, and you need to, I wear the hat, but it's my thing, but I also wear hats. I wear ties, but I like to wear ties. Sometimes I wear a tie on a Saturday. Why? Not tomorrow. It's too hot here. But you want to be unique, but also being authentic. All right, next. What do we got? Okay, this is important. Listen to everybody and no one. So this is what I mean. I do a video and someone says, I hated your hat or whatever. I did not like, this is too long. You're like, oh, I will make it short. Next person, it's too short. I'll make it long. So when you read the comments, when you hear feedback, you cannot listen to one person and say, everybody is saying this. This is what happens when you talk to someone. You're like, hey, listen, we need to talk. Everybody is angry. I am telling you, but everyone agrees with me. I'm like, is everybody or is it just you? It's hard to tell because people like to say that. They're like, everybody thinks this. So, but if you do a video and all the comments say the sound is too quiet, like 5 comments, then it is true. Then you should say, well, maybe we'll fix it. But do not let 1 or 2 people ruin it. You want to listen. I love to read the comments on videos. On my channel, by the way, if a comment is rude or an attack, I will delete it because I want the YouTube comment channel to be a place where people can communicate. I do the same thing on Facebook. I stopped using Twitter because I could not do that on Twitter. If I cannot control what people say. Now, if you say, Tom, you are wrong, I think this game is good, you said it's bad. I think this game is bad, you said it's good. I don't care. But if you say, Tom, you are fat and ugly, I will delete your comment. Yeah, because that does not help anybody. It does not help things. So listen to people, but also if those people care about you, right? Sometimes all kinds of weird things will happen. For us, sometimes people say, I only hear audio in one ear. I'm like, oh, who cares? But it does matter, right? Then you have to go back. Or people say you look yellow. I'm like, oh, you got to go fix that. But I want to make things better. So listen to everybody, but not any one person. Because one person will ruin your channel. All right, next one. Your audience is your audience. And this is very important. So this is one thing I think that I disagree with most of the other content creators on this. So maybe they are right, maybe I'm wrong. But when I am doing videos or my podcast or reviews, I am doing them for those people. I am not doing them for the publishers. I am not doing it for the designer. I am not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it for the people who watch that. And it's also important that people know that I care about my audience. So when I go to a convention, I like to talk to publishers. I like to talk to designers. That's important. It's great. But I must also talk to people who just watch my show. And many content creators do not do that. They go to a convention and they will play games with only their friends in a different spot. I'm like, but these people watch your show. If you are a Dice Tower fan, you know that we Dice Tower people will come out and we will game with almost anybody once. If you're a jerk, I'm like, okay, once. But we will play with, because those are the people who support you. So someone asked this earlier in the other thing, like, how do you tell the truth? Oh, you asked that, right? Yeah, right. So if I'm friends with the publisher, but the publisher is number 2. Number 1 are the people who watch my show. If those people lose trust in me, then I will lose my channel. And we have seen this happen in real life, where some channels, it happens a lot outside the board game industry, where people who do makeup or whatever, and people they've been caught lying because they wanted to get some money or whatever. No, my audience, the people who watch my show are the number 1 most important thing to me. And so at a convention, I can't talk to everybody, but I try to talk to people. I want to spend time with people. I want to play games with people. All right, next one. What equipment to get? This is what people always ask me. I don't know. It changes every day. And the problem with board games is the only people to ask are other board gamers. Because video gamers just record their screen. And people who do other things. The only hobby that is very similar to our hobby is people who make food. Because when they make food, the camera is on the food. So if you're looking for tips, ask those people. But people ask me all the time, and I go back to what I said earlier, that it is important that you just, the first thing to do is to just do it. Worry about the equipment second. Then the second thing I found is sound is more important than video. People go, I have a hard time seeing, but if your sound is bad, if it's like, people will stop listening. I stop listening if your sound is bad. And I hate when my sound is bad because, so getting a good microphone, but these little clip microphones, these are amazing. Nowadays, you don't even need very good equipment. You can have an iPhone and you can have one of these microphones, and that is good enough for almost everybody at the beginning. The Dice Tower, I have $1,000 cameras, and I still use an iPhone because every year the new iPhone comes out and it's better. Every year, Tim Cook says, this year it's better, and I go, obviously. What are you going to say? It's worse this year? It's obviously better, but they are. And the video camera stays the same, so it's tough. But you still need to get better equipment, and I no longer worry about this. I hire people. I'm like, you guys figure it out. But for equipment, I think just buy a few things, buy a nice microphone, and then the rest of it is you. You are more important than the equipment. All right, next is be honest. I really believe this, okay? You really need to be honest. You have to be careful when you say being honest. Everyone knows they have a friend who says, I am just being honest, but they just say that to be a jerk. Like, oh, you look terrible today. What? I'm just being honest. Like, you can be honest in your head. But the review is not the same way. A review, people want to know. They are saying, is this good? So I need to be honest. I need to say, this is good, this is bad. And you might say, but if I say this game is bad, this company will no longer send me games. Well, first of all, that's good, right? If you hate the game, you don't want to keep doing it. I always tell people this is what I do at my house. If my wife makes me a meal and I do not like it, I always say, I do not like this. She is not happy for a few minutes, but I never eat it again for the rest of my life. Because people, they do not tell. They're like, oh, it's good. So then next week we have it again. I'm like, oh, no. You should be honest. So now you can be honest without, I don't say, I hate this. Never again. And also, when my wife makes me something I like, I say, this is amazing. You must be honest, negative and positive. If you are always negative, people go, but if you're always positive, people go, wow. You say, this is the best game ever. But you said that last week. And you said it the week before. And you said it the week before. That's why when I go to Kickstarter or GameFound, the previews, I don't even watch them. Who cares? What are they going to say? It's bad? I don't think so. They always say it's good. That's why I stopped doing previews, because I just was like, I can't say it's bad, and I want to. You know, I have a previewer, Mark Street, and I think previews are useful because they show you how the game is played. But for a review, when the game is out, we need to be honest about the game. All right, next. Be positive. So I put this after being honest because I think we need to be positive. If you look at my reviews on Board Game Geek, I have more positive than negative. I think my average is maybe 6.7 or something like that. It's pretty high. And people say, see, but also one of the reasons it's high is because I don't play every game. When I go to the toy store, I can see a game about Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse goes to jail. Well, that would be fun. But, you know, something weird, and I'm like, that's trash. I don't even have to play those games. So if I reviewed every game, my rating might be 4, you know, because there are so many terrible games at the big stores. But I don't play all of them. Most games are pretty good, usually. The people have worked hard on it. They spent time. The publisher said, we will make it. So I think we should be positive. But even when you're negative, we should be positive. Like I said it earlier, number 1 game on Board Game Geek is Brass. I don't like it. But somebody might like it. Sometimes I go to a convention and people say, I'm sorry, I'm playing Brass. I don't care. I want you to have a good time playing games, not just the games I like. I don't care. My wife does not like iced tea. That's great. Because when I buy iced tea, she will not drink any. It is all for me. But also, my wife and I like many things together. When we go out to eat, we go to the things that we like to do together, and that's what we are looking for. And I think being positive is important, especially in today's world where the internet is pretty negative about everything all the time. All the time, everything is terrible. And I don't think it's that terrible. I live in Miami, wonderful place. I got into a metal machine that flew in the air by magic and got me here in an airplane. Wow. 1,000 years ago, that would not have happened. I got here, and my wife can call me. 20 years ago, that would have cost like $500 to call America. And now it's really cheap. There are so many good things. And board gaming, we should be positive in general. I try to be positive on my channel. We have to talk about negative news, like right now, of course, obviously, the tariffs between America and China, that's a thing, right? But even though that's a thing, I can mention it, but that is not my life. My life is now going to be talking about positives of board games. And yes, that is some people's life, their businesses and things, and I understand that, but I cannot keep dwelling on it all the time, or else people will stop watching my channel. Because people are not here. There are some channels, maybe, I'm sure you all know channels that thrive on hatred or anger. I don't want to be that way, and I don't think you should want to be that way. All right, do I have any more? I don't remember. Try new things, but don't marry them. I mean, I always try something new. And then people say, that did not work. I'm like, we will do it forever. So I run the Dice Tower, and I have 9 employees. And I'll say, let's try this. And my employees will often say, I don't think it will work. I say, well, I'm the boss, so we will try it. We try it. And they don't say anything. Usually they're like, I'm like, fine, it did not work. But I like to try new things. I think you should always try new things. If you watch my channel, I am always trying new things. Sometimes they last for a long time, sometimes a short time. In 2020 and 2022, we did marble racing. Now we are doing an RPG. I'm always like, let's try I'm always trying to think of new things to do. But if it works, I will keep it. Like the top 10 lists, they always work. But even those I changed. Recently, our top 10 list, we started showing video of the game in the background. It's more work to do that, but I wanted to try it, and people like it. It makes a difference. But sometimes I try something, and everyone looks at me, and I go, you're right, it's not good. So I'm not marrying it, I'm just trying it. But if you always are the same, eventually no one will watch anymore. You must change and get better. All right, next one. Never give up. All right, this is one of my favorite movies. Never give up, never surrender. But really, I shouldn't say never give up. If you don't like board gaming anymore, or you find something new that you love, you should go do that. You should do what you like. But other than that, if you keep going, you will succeed. You might not become number one. It is what I tell, when I used to teach kids all the time, and I would tell the kids, do you want to play the trumpet? You can. In fact, you can be really good at the trumpet if you want to. Will you be the best? Probably not. But you'll be really good. You just have to work really hard at it. I am not the best board game reviewer ever, and I never will be. But I've worked hard to be good. And I work on it, I said 23 years. I've done it for 23 years, and that is a lot of my life. But I'm going to keep doing it. There are some days where I just want to smash everything. People, you know how that is, right? I don't give up. I'm glad my wife did not give up on me when we got married, but I don't want to give up on what I'm doing. Even when it's hard, I read the internet, people say, Dice Tower is no longer useful. I don't like watching the Dice Tower. I'm like, why do I try? Because I don't want to give up. All right, next one. Money! So people always ask about money. Or can you make money from board gaming? Or from content creation. So there are different ways to get money. One is from YouTube, which is almost nothing. YouTube content, they give you very, very little money through YouTube content. I get lots of views, 3 million views a month maybe, which is a lot. And I could live off of it. Not my family. My wife and children would starve. But I would survive off of that. So other ways to get money, a lot of people, the easy way to get money nowadays is to do Kickstarter stuff. Because Kickstarter people are like, yes, please. They will throw money out. And we get money from, I started conventions and things like that. But to get money is always work. And I work harder at Dice Tower to get less money than I would somewhere else. Again, I get money from the Dice Tower. I will not pretend that we get money from it. But I did it for a long time for free. And I do it because I love doing it. The money is secondary to that. And I think I have one more, maybe, slide. Questions? Any questions?
How long it took for you to start growing the team? You started all alone, right?
Yes. So I always liked the idea of a team. When I first started reviewing board games, I was just writing reviews. But when I started the podcast, I was like, I don't want to do a podcast by myself. So I got a co-host, and we did it together. And after an episode 50, I remember that very specifically, I got a new co-host, because my co-host moved. I was in Korea. He moved back to America. So I got a new co-host, and I said, I have an idea. Let's bring other people, and they will do segments. Because I watched the talk shows at night, and sometimes they would have other people on them. And I thought that was a fun way to do it. So I did that, and I enjoyed that. And then when I started doing video reviews, I never thought I would make money. I just did it. But one day, I was so tired, and I said, I have to give up something. So I have my job, my family, and board games. I can't give up the family, probably. So I'll keep them. But I have to either do less board games or I have to quit my job. So I talked to my wife, and she was very nervous. She was very nervous. I said, let's try it. And so we tried it, and it was that first year, we barely made it. And then we ran a Kickstarter, and I was like, oh, wow, I think I can do this. And in year 2, I was like, wow, it's so much work. I need one more person. So I was like, maybe I can hire someone else, but it was very tricky. So Z Garcia was my first person I brought on board, because he was a drama teacher in a high school, and just like in the movies, the school said we were cutting the drama department, So he didn't have a job, and I thought he would be great on video. So I hired him. And then my other friend Sam was like, me too. And I was like, well, hang on, And so now I am hiring people slowly, but my thing is when I hire someone, I never want to fire them. Or if we get too little money, I'm like, someone has to go. I might have to do that someday. I hope not. But each person, though, makes work better. I have not gotten less work, though. Every time I hire someone, I am doing more. And sometimes, I know that you think we always get along. Sometimes people do not get along. Now, in the Dice Tower, it has been very good. We've been very fortunate. But some days, I come to work, I'm not in a good mood. And that happens. And so that is extra things to deal with. But the benefits of a team are great. We have different views on board games. Someone says, you don't like brass. I'm like, well, Chris Yee likes brass. You don't like this little game. Z Garcia likes it. But also, it helps for morale. When someone on the internet says, Tom, you are stupid. And I go to work, I'm like, oh, someone said I'm stupid. And then people are like, they're dumb. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. They are dumb. Who cares? It's helpful. It helps you have a better attitude. Any other questions?
Do you benchmark other content creators?
Yes. I watch everybody. Well, I mean, not everybody. I don't watch everyone. There's too many people, right? But the big ones, the ones who are closest to my size, I watch what they do because I want to know. I love competition. If someone is doing better than me, I'm like, oh, right, we got to beat them. Now, I don't want to destroy them. I call it friendly competition. We are all in the same business, but if someone watches only one reviewer, I want it to be Dice Tower. So I look at all the statistics. I see what people do. I don't do it all the time. I don't want to be obsessive about it, but I do watch what things do well for people, what videos do better. Some of them I talk to. I'm good friends with Alex from Board Game Co. He and we talk a lot about, because sometimes another content creator is the only person who knows who you can talk to. I can be like, oh, this publisher, who am I going to say that to? Oh, another content creator. Like, oh, yeah, that publisher. And they're like, yeah. Sometimes someone will review a game, and I'll call them up, and I'll be like, are you crazy? You said this game was good? Did you play a different game? Maybe. So I'm not friends with all of them. We're not enemies, but I mean, I know most of them, but some of them I am very good friends with. I'm good friends with Alex and Dan King and a few others that I know very well.
At some point, do you feel it's necessary to put some money into marketing or?
Oh, yes. That's a good question. I should put that in my slide. I meant to talk about that in the money section. I think to make money, you must spend money. So if you go to Gen Con, I have a booth at Gen Con. If you go to Essen, I have a booth at Essen. They are so expensive. At Gen Con, our booth is, I don't know, like $12,000. That is so much money for 4 days, but it works. Even if you cannot afford that, right? When I first started, I said, I will have a small booth. I went to a publisher. I said, can I have a table in your area? When I first started the Dice Tower, I went and bought business cards. Back then, people used business cards. And I went to conventions, and I just walked up to people and said, hey, listen to the Dice Tower, listen to the Dice Tower. Then the next time I bought magnets, and I was like, oh, magnets are great. I will give people a magnet for the refrigerator. And I had a big box of them, and I was getting on the plane, and they said, you cannot put this on the plane. I said, why? They said, the suitcase, it is one giant magnet. It's like, oh, so I took maybe 100. So next year I said, all right, I will make dice. So I made a big box of dice that had Dice Tower on them, and I'd give them people and say, listen to the Dice Tower. And then I went to lunch, and I left my box of dice outside. I came back, and they were all gone. People just took dice. I was like, well, But I always try I spend money on sometimes audio, or even like the dice people I have. I pay an artist to do that. I spend money on small things, like this presentation I made with Canva. I spend money on Canva. I spend money on Google, not Google, but Microsoft documents and things that, there's a lot of different programs I use. We use Final Cut Pro, but I constantly say, can we advertise a little? We should. And I think it is important to spend money to make money. But you have to be smart about it. If you're going to, once you do money, you cannot just be a content creator. You are now a businessman. And not every content creator is good at business. So if you are, then you need to hire someone who can help the business part. I am okay at business. So my conventions, I let people who are smart run them, and I say, don't lose me money. And we don't. We don't make a lot of money, but we make some money from them. I just don't want to lose money. You have the question.
How many time, either chronologically or logical time, you give to a product to say it will stay, or say it was a nice idea but it didn't work? How many tries?
It depends on reaction. Sometimes, like I said, I did that comedy skit. People were like, we got so many negative emails. I said, never again. Sometimes something gets lower and lower, and I say, it's time to phase it out. So I just stopped one of my shows. I do a weekly show. We did a board game breakfast, and we do a board game smorgasbord. And board game smorgasbord, we did for, 3 years. And I said, the views are getting a little less, but also I'm kind of tired of doing it. I want to do something different. So I said, we'll cut that and we'll just do Dice Tower News, which is all people want to watch anyway. So I try things for a little while. Sometimes I stop them because I'm done. And I also believe if you're going to stop something, stop it before people stop watching it. So the Dice Tower podcast, I do another podcast now, but when I did Dice Tower podcast, I said, we're going to stop it on episode 700. I announced it. We will stop at 700. And so 700 is a lot of downloads. But a lot of times people, the term that, I don't know what the Spanish term is, the English term is pod fade, because you say, I will do a podcast, and then you're gone for 2 months. And then after 2 months, you're like, we're back. And that's the last podcast. That happens a lot. You see that, and you see channels, and they just, I want to go out with an explosion, if I can. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Do you think it's good or bad to have, in the industry, there's so many board games right now, and it's overwhelming, for us content creators. We want to try them all, we want to have them all, and every year it's more and more and more. How do you deal with this amount of?
Well, I deal with it by hiring people. There's just so many people out there. But I have a friend, a content creator called Trick Taking. His name just Taylor. Sorry, Taylor. Trick Taking. Sorry Taylor if you're watching. He only reviews trick taking games. There is hundreds of trick taking games, so he is fine. And I asked him about that. I said, so you only do one thing? He said, well, that is the way it is in music. Most people do not say, I review rock music and classical music and rap music. They just pick one and review that one. And he said he stays busy. So that's one thing you could do. You can pick one thing and make that thing yours. A lot of people do that. Even we do that. I don't review heavy war games, or I don't review stuff that's trash in the mass market store. I mean, there's so many things. I don't review puzzles. So you have to decide what you're going to do.
I have another question. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. I think, I have many questions related to answers that you shared here, so thank you. But one of them is related more for the publisher, the relation between content creators and publishers. I think, in my personal opinion, here in Mexico, there is still in progress, I think.
Sure.
But the question is more related in how do you handle it in US? Almost all the time in collaborations, when do we need to start to think about to specify a rate? Maybe should we start to consider a rate in a specific moment of our career or channel or audience?
Sure. My opinion, so when I always say, I said earlier, I worked 13 years for free, but the first couple years of me reviewing games, I did not even think about, they would send me a copy. I just bought games and played them. I think people should do that. Just buy games, play them, do it, and then people say, oh, look at this person. They're doing games. And you should go to someone and say, can I get a copy of a game? Look, I have reviewed 50 games. If you haven't reviewed anything, and also because then they will know that that's possible. For money purposes, that's a step. It's very difficult. Publishers do not make a lot of money. So they have very little to give out, especially now. And so they have to think very carefully, and you have to prove to them that it is worth their while. It's tricky. I don't do that. I hired someone else to do it. Because the reason I hired someone else to do it, and again, I'm this far, when I first did it, this person goes to them and they say, the Dice Tower is amazing. The Dice Tower is big. You should support us. I can't say that to people. I always am embarrassed. I don't want to say, we're the best. I'm like, we're okay. But that is not good. You need to say we're the best. But I have a hard time. So I hired someone else, and they say, the Dice Tower will get you money. This is a good thing. yada, yada. I let them do that. Most people aren't going to do that at first. So to me, I always tell people, if you are new, do not even think about that. Just do it. Is it fun? Is that reward enough? You need to do it for a while before you even think about money, I think. I think you should do it for a year before you even think about money, at least.
You mentioned you check the statistics. I want to sum the statistics of the videos.
Yes.
Of the channel. Currently, you are doing that yourself, or you have someone to help you to analyze those analytics? And
Now, I'm a math teacher, so I love statistics, so I do it on my own. Most people use Social Blade, I think, is the number one, but I also use a program I pay for called TubeBuddy, T-U-B-E Buddy, and that you can stick in 2 channels and it will show you comparisons between them and things like that.
And the question is, how much has been helpful for you to change the algorithm or to manipulate the algorithm?
I'm not the best with that. Algorithms confuse me sometimes, and that's on purpose. YouTube is very sneaky, and if you want to get a lot of people to watch your videos on YouTube, then you need to go on there and say, I hate something, and that's the easiest way, is to be negative, have people argue, you argue back. I don't want to do that. So I try to use SEO and all these things, but I don't know a whole lot about it. So I ask other people to help me sometimes with that. But my opinion is, if you do a really good job, people will find you. I want, when someone says, I want to know about board gaming, who should I ask? People say, oh, here's a channel, the Dice Tower. And that's also important. One thing I try to do on the Dice Tower is I try to always remember, and I don't always, I try to remember if people watching, it might be their first video. So I can say, well, this game is an area-controlled deck building, and people watching are going, well, I don't know what anything you said is. So you must always explain things and talk. That's not your question at all, I'm sorry, but...
No. I mean, maybe it's, I would like to understand a little more.
I like to look and see, sometimes a video does very well. I want to know, then I go look at the video and like, why did that video do well? What is the thing that makes that video do well? You know what does not make videos do well? The TV. I've seen this before. Someone's like, oh, we were on national TV. It does not make a lot of people go to your channel. It does not often. It's fun to be on national TV, but it doesn't make people go. If you can get somebody famous to say, I love the show, that will work really well, but I don't know.
Get ready, because you are going to say that for all of us.
So in all your experience, what are the main things that you found that work for your channel? And what kind of things would you suggest us to avoid?
Yeah, the thing that people like the most, I've found, is I mentioned consistency, right? Because people know. People like short stuff. I'm telling you, one of my most popular videos I do is 6 games I played, so you don't have to. I say that, and people are like, why? And it's very short, but people don't mind that. Short is good. So I found that works really well. I do a show called Week in Review, where at the beginning of each week, I tell you about all the videos we did. But I do that because we do 20 videos every week. Top 10s work for me, but I do not always recommend that. Top 10s work for me because I was very lucky to find a perfect combination of me. It was me, Sam, and Z, and it works really well. And then when Sam left, Mike came, and it worked so well. To find that is so hard. You just look, top 10 lists. Sometimes I'll see 3 people sitting there, and they say, I like this game. And the other person goes, that is pleasant. I agree. People don't want to watch that. People want to see back and forth. One of my biggest inspirations in America, we had 2 famous reviewers, Roger Ebert and Richard Roper, not Richard Roper, Gene Siskel, and they are famous for inventing thumbs up and thumbs down. And if they both gave a thumbs up, the movie would say 2 thumbs up. But they would argue on the show. He would say, this is a good movie. No, it's not. And I always like that because you hear two points of view. We argue in the video. When we're done with the video, we are still friends. I also love to argue about board games because it is not important. Like if we argue about politics, when it's done, you might say, we will never talk again. But if we argue about board games, who cares? So I like that. I find that stuff does well. Be careful with children. Lots of YouTube channels are like, here is my child. Everyone's like, oh, they are wonderful. And the child's like, I love doing this. Until one day the child goes, I'm done. Happens every time. There is not one board game YouTube channel that had a child who still does it, including Dice Tower. If you notice, I often have children, but they change. Because I have 7. I have 1 left, my son. But not all of my children have been on my channel either because they all don't want to do it. I want to have my wife, but she says, please don't put me on the channel. So I don't. Don't ever put someone on your channel who doesn't want to be on.
So you just moved recently.
Well, I am still moving. I am here. My wife called me and said, where are you? I'm like, Mexico.
What are the next goals for Dice Tower?
So my next goal, it sounds weird, my next goal is to be peaceful for a bit. Actually, I don't know because right now my next goal is to not be affected too much by everything that's happening because companies and we have all sorts of things that are happening, you know, that we do with the Dice Tower, and I want to make sure we're okay. So I'm always thinking ideas, but I often don't ever say, when someone says, what's coming next? I'm like, well, you'll find out. Because I always like to think about things. I think about things sometimes for a year before I do them. And I don't want people, if you say you were going to do something and then you do not, people get upset. That is why when I was a child, my parents would get in a car and I'd say, where are we going? You will see. And we get there and I'm like, well, this is boring. But they did not tell me it was exciting. So the same thing. I can tell you this. Right now, my main goal is we are rebuilding our live studio for the live games. So I have a new, bigger area. So we're going to build a frame. When I say we, I mean not me, but the other people. So I'm excited about that. Other than that, I cannot think past the move. But in 2 weeks, I will be almost done. And then I will be working on other things. So one other question? Yes?
Yeah, how do you feel about technology entering the board game universe, like augmented reality and using your phone or playing in board game arena? Like, do you think it's good for the industry, bad?
The Dice Tower is now sponsored by Board Game Arena. So Board Game Arena is the best. No, but I don't play Board Game Arena that often. I will play it on the channel, and I'm sure it's very good and everything. I like to play in person because that's fun for me. But technology, I think that's great. I like using the phone for scanning things or music or whatever. I like it for 2 reasons. One, it's fun, but also I find a person at the table who is always on their phone, and I say, we need to use your phone to do this. I think mixing the two, why not? Augmented reality, I have not yet seen one good time of it. It's okay. But like, has anyone here played Chronicles of Crime? Or, oh, it's so good. I like that concept. There's a new one that just came out. The one from Lucky Duck. They made a new one. I forget with the app. Anyway, I like that stuff. But I don't want it all the time. But it's not all the time. Every time I talk about it, people go, "Oh, it's ruining board gaming." Like, there's 1,000 games that do not use your iPhone. I don't care. But I think it's a neat thing to see mixing going. It's the same thing with my whole life. When I drive, I always use directions because it's just better. If a phone can help me with things at the table that I don't want, like there's now they made a new app for Cascadia where you can take a picture and it scores it. Why not? I want to add. Okay, weirdo. You know, take the things we don't like and put them in technology. I'm good with that.
We know it's subjective and maybe it's based on opinions and So at the end is content. But in your experience, which kind of content is not kind of worth it to try? Let's say, just an example, I don't know, unboxing matches, reviews, something like that.
Yeah, so reviews are important. I always say reviews are the backbone of the channel. They don't get you the most, but you have to do them so people know who you are and what you are talking about. I think for me, the number one content is top 10s. They're the thing people watch the most. Number two is our crowd surfing show where we talk about Kickstarter because people just want to know about the future. I don't get it, but that's what people like. And then after that is reviews. And then our shows, we do the news people like, but there are some shows I do just because I like to do them. Like I do the Q&A once every 2 weeks. I just like to do it. I don't care if it gets a lot of views. But the things that don't get a lot, I know what it is, children's games. Every time I go to a convention, people come and say, please review more children's games. Okay, but no one watches them. Because most parents just go, meh, enjoy. They don't care. I'm surprised. I always think children's games should do really well. They do not.
Maybe Europe.
Maybe in Europe? Oh, no, maybe there, but I still think parents just go and buy. In Europe, they do well because they get the Kinderspiel, and parents go and go, it won the award? Okay, done. I do not think they watch reviews. It is that way even for me. If my kids say, I want to watch a cartoon, I don't watch a review. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. When I watch a movie, though, I read the reviews.
What about the how to play videos?
How to play is, so I just started the how to play. I have a new person, Salome. In fact, he should have a video that just went up today. But how to play is tricky because they are a lot of work. When I do my reviews, I do a little how to play section, but it is not everything. I always say, do not. This is just so you know how it works. How to play, though, needs to teach people, so it is more work, more effort. So they're hard to do, but if you can do them well, people like them. But then you want to work with the publisher so that you put their QR code in their rule book or what have you. And everyone does them differently. The most famous is Watch It Played, Rodney. But he does it differently than I want to do it. Rodney's videos are like 1 hour. If you and me are playing a game and you say the rules teach is 1 hour, I will be like, I will be back in 1 minute, and then I will drive away. But his videos are like that because they are like a rule book. So if someone needs to know something, and he is fantastic, he's the best. Salome, who is doing it on my channel, I said, I want it to be 15 minutes. You know, just make a video. This is how to play the game. But so it's going to be different for everybody. We used to have someone who did 3-minute overviews, and people love it. They love short. How to play is good, but you have to be good at it. And it is more technical because when I do a review, I can be like, oh, and people are looking at me. How to play, they're not looking at me at all. They're looking at the game. So you need the best cameras and lights. It's harder.
It has nothing to do with content creation. I'm just curious. What's the perception that you have over there about Mexican board gaming industry? Because I know that you are looking right now at Brazil and Spain. I mean, the Dice Tower Essential line has some Brazilian games there.
It does, because I went to the Brazilian convention and I got some games there. I think Mexico is probably behind Brazil right now. In board gaming, not a negative thing, but I think the chance of growing is great. Things like this are really good, and I think it will just continue to grow. I have high hopes. I want to see every country do well. I want to play board games from every country on earth, and each country can add their own unique culture. Like Japan is known for having such small games. You know, these small games, and their games are sometimes so strange. And that is the Japanese flavor. Korean is more like a crazy thing, like, oh, I'm flipping it. And so each country can add its own flavor to that. I like that. I think it's fun to play games. I have not played a ton of Mexican games. I don't know, probably less than 30, probably. but that will probably change after this week. We good? All righty. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. Hey, folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Vasel.